I'd like to show you guys the new setup we have to help repel deer out of our fruit orchard. Now this project happened real quick. I did all of this setup, shut down everything in about an hour, and I used materials that were just lying around the homestead. The key to this project is fishing line, and so as any good homesteader, I have plenty of that laying around. For my research, you could do heavy pound test monofilament, or you could do heavy braided line. I decided to go with the braided line for two reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that I had some UV resistance. Monofilament tends to break down in the sunlight. And two, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have a lot of stretch in my line because I want the deer to feel it right there on its beak and cause it to panic and back away from my fruit. Other than a physical barrier like our cages, this is going to be more of a psychological barrier. I use T-posts to lay the foundation for my fishing line fence. The taller, the better. I'm using 5.5 feet, and to help increase my advantage with these shorter stakes, I decided to lean them back at an angle, not only to keep the deer further away from some of those branches, but as they try to come in, they'll feel those lines at different angles, and hopefully that'll really mess with their heads. I also wanted to make sure I could easily mow around this without making more work for myself. So by leaning it back versus setting the T-post back, I'm hoping I can still get the effectiveness, but also not have to make more work for myself when it comes time to weed eat. When I was looking up plans for this project, one good point that was made was you want to also think about the baby deer, right? And so you want to make sure that not only do you have those fishing lines up high to catch the deer in the nose and the chest, but you also want to catch the nose of those little fawns that are also with mom and trying to feed as well. So because of that, what I decided to do is I set about 4 to 5 strands. I set 5 strands on the back side of the orchard where we get the most of the deer traffic, but then I have 4 strands around the rest of the other sides, and they're starting at the top of the T-post, and they're working their way down about a foot to 16 inches until I get close to the bottom where I only have about a foot left. Now, the advantage of having braided line is once I stretch this out, I can really tighten it down. I used a taut line hitch so that I can adjust that tautness, and if for some reason that line comes loose, I can just re-stretch it nice and taut. As I go from T-post to T-post, I'm stretching it tight and giving it a couple wraps above and below the line before I go to the next T-post to just make sure that stays nice and tight. You can also kind of bend your T-post back and forth if you want to get some tension to make sure those are taut so you can feel that resistance and yet that line will spring back into place. Once all of this is set up, it's hard to see even for me, especially in low light. And so what I decided to do is flag my lines at the very bottom for my dogs so they could see it, and then at the very top so I could see it when I'm mowing. Hello everybody, this is Rooster, and Rooster wants to thank you for watching, and we hope that we've earned your subscription here on the Grateful Ambition Homestead.